Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to see so many of you to come here and welcome to our launchment of Data Science and Analytics Academy here at Vinted. So my name is Agle, and I'm a Future Careers partner here. So to start things off, I would like to introduce our Chief Data Scientist, Evgeny Gamper, who will talk all things about the DSA Data Science and Analytics here at Vinted. Welcome.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. So I actually have nothing to click. Is that it's supposed to be this way? Technical difficulty, 1 second. In the meantime, while I'm waiting for a thing to click, you can grab a beer over there, or is it a beer? It's not a beer. Whatever it is, grab it, have a drink. No, we don't have something to click. In the meantime, I'll introduce myself. I'm Jeff. I'm a decision scientist here at Vinted. I'm happy to. I have only 15 minutes to talk with you. I mean, the presentation is 15 minutes, but I'll stay afterwards to answer your questions. So we'll be very happy. Come approach me and ask questions. But there are also my wonderful colleagues here who you can ask questions afterwards as well. They're here specifically for this purpose, so do approach them too. And I still need to continue talking because we're still looking for a clicker. Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, so this is me. I'm Jeff. I'm a decision scientist here at Vinted. Just to introduce what my background is, I've done a bunch of stuff, worked on climate science, on medical imaging, AI, all sorts of things. And then I ended up being at Vinted, working with machine learning engineers and then working in decision science. So that's enough about me. If you have any more questions, do approach me either today or approach me afterwards on LinkedIn too. I'm happy to chat with you. I also work with these wonderful people here at Vinted, because everyone has a team. I have a team. This is the team that I work with. Agne, Giedrius, Dominikas, Gintaras, Augustinas, Julia, Tadas, we all work together in experimentation team. Everyone has a team. And if you join Vinted, you'll have a team too. So what is data science and analytics at Vinted? I'll briefly introduce you to this topic kind of from a bit of a team perspective. So there are a whole bunch of teams at Vinted. They're all doing something, right? One team, for example, this one might be working on trust features. So they might be introducing changes to our platform where different members trade second-hand items, and they might introduce a change that makes the platform safer. So in this specific case, whenever we see a member might be sharing a personal information, we will notify them, please do not share personal information on Vinted. So we try to encourage them to be safe on the platform. And this is one change that the team might introduce that is working on it. There might be another team over here that might be working on something completely different. In this case, they're working on introducing a feature that recommends item for members that go in our page. So here you can see on top, is this up? The recommended for you thingy. So there is a team that specifically works on the recommendation system that tries to develop models, test these models in productions to see how better can we help our members to discover items that they're looking for. So this is one team working just on this aspect. And there are multiple teams working on a whole bunch of different things. So there is another team that might be working on how do we allocate stuff on the homepage, how do we position things, what is the best way that makes our members achieve whatever they want to achieve on the platform. Perhaps someone wants to buy jeans, someone is looking for a specific brand. We want to make these items discoverable for our members so that they achieve their goals, and this is another team that is working on it. There might be a team that is working on ads, where they discover what is the best possible solution on our platform that allows to serve ads in the most convenient way for our members. So this is an example of placing an ad at the end of the item carousel. So this is just another example of a change that might be happening. So all of these changes, sorry about that, all of these changes are happening across all of different organizations. So this is just to kind of give you visual intuition of what I'm talking about. On the left, we have the Vinted marketplace, where people are transacting with one another, buying different items from one another. And on the right, we have the Vinted actual company, me and my colleagues, and a lot of other colleagues who are working in infrastructure, in marketing, in backend, all sorts of things, making different changes in all of this. And the job of data science and analytics is actually to help the rest of the organization to make sense of all of this complexity that is going on here. This is what we're here for as a data science and analytics organization. And this is where the mission and the vision of our function, that is data science and analytics, comes from. And hopefully if you join Data Science Analytics Academy, you will be also contributing towards achieving that mission and vision. So what is that vision? The whole point of why we exist at Vinted is to make data obvious at Vinted, because all of these changes that I've introduced to you, introducing a career recommender system, changing the placement of ads, changing the way we position things in our platform, maybe doing some back-end infrastructure changes, changing servers, migrating servers, changing the shipping routes. So Sirvidas could talk to you about it, and you as well could talk about it. So all of these things lead to new data generated, and there are questions to be asked and answered about this data. And this is what we're here for, and we want to make all of these questions and answers obvious. So, and this comes down to everything, how data is used in strategy, how data is used in perhaps feature development, how data is used in anything pretty much else. And by the way, since this is the topic I'm working in, with all of the changes that I've shown to you, perhaps people have some exposure. How do we test this at Vinted? Does anyone know? Yeah? Yes, very good. 100 points. Yes, we do the A/B testing. The goal is that every change is actually A/B tested, so that way we know what kind of impact it has on the business metrics. So very good. And it applies not just to A/B testing, it applies to the kind of business metrics we developed, what kind of things we want as an organization to pursue. And this is expressed through business metrics that we develop as data science and analytics function, and then the rest of the organization is using those metrics to optimize them to evaluate how well are we pursuing whatever strategic goals we have. This might also work with data models. So before we have the metric, we actually have the data model. The table has to be somewhere that we can use to compute the metric. So this is where our analytics engineers come in. Machine learning has to be obvious as well, where it is used, where it is not used. The recommendation system is one good example where there is a machine learning model running. It has to be clear and obvious how it is being used and how it is improving the life of our members. The experimentation itself has to be obvious, and any obvious question has to have obvious answers. And there are many questions that we are yet to answer here at Vinted. So specifically, what are the roles in data science analytics function? I already mentioned a few. So let's take as an example the feature that I've already introduced, the recommendation system. In that feature, there are one, data to be prepared that will be consumed by the model. So this is where analytics engineering comes in. There is then metric to be developed that will evaluate the performance of this model. So this is where decision science comes in, because someone has to understand what is it that we want to achieve from the business point of view and express that in a business metric. And then there is also data science work to be done to develop the actual model itself, deploy it, and optimize it to improve the business metric that has been set. So these are the three key roles that exist. There is another role also of people leadership. So we have people leading and growing the data science and analytics individual contributors, the three roles that I've introduced before. And just to kind of overview them very broadly, there's a lot of text here. You don't have to spend too much time on it. So the decision scientist, as I mentioned, so tackling complex business questions. And one example of it, okay, we want to improve the discovery on our platform. They will design a metric that will measure how well are we improving the discovery on our platform. Then we have the data scientist who might build a machine learning model to help with that. And we have the analytics engineer who will actually make the data available for whatever the decision scientist wants to measure and whatever the data scientist wants to use in the machine learning model that they are developing. So these are the three roles. The fourth one is the people leadership. This is the helping in growth and alignment of all of these three roles, and a bit more than that. I don't have much time, but I want to kind of introduce what's my favorite thing about Vinted. One of the company values we have here at Vinted is we grow, and this company value is very much aligned with kind of how I try to do things in life. And we do indeed grow a lot as a data science analytics organization. And here I mean learning, because some of the questions that we have to answer, they are quite difficult and have not been answered by many other companies or even scientific communities. And that's what's really cool, because it opens you to some new questions to be answered. We actually participate and do that a lot together. So these are the pictures of all different things that data science analytics function have done. So we do go to conferences together quite a bit. So one of them is upcoming is KDD in Barcelona, and we'll go there because different companies present different kind of scientific solutions to their scientific questions. We also present at these conferences ourselves. So there on the right, we have Daniel, who did his master's work on e-values. So this is a specific hypothesis testing method that he then went ahead and presented. And we actually had people from Airbnb and Spotify approaching us and saying how cool that stuff is. Here is again a group of us in Boston at a conference at MIT. And here is actually Allard and Manuel. They're two leaders of the data science function. And we are participating all together as a data science analytics function in a workshop that we ourselves designed for ourselves, where we tried to learn about experimentation and how to set the metrics correctly. So everyone kind of engaged in that learning exercise. And the picture over there on the right, so this is again one of our offsites where the whole data science analytics function participated. And we spent time learning how to design metrics, kind of collectively. So the learning doesn't really stop when you join Vinted, and there is still a lot more to learn for all of us here. And hopefully this is something that is exciting for you as well, where you could join the organization and learn and grow together with it. So this is what I had to say about the Vinted Data Science Function Analytics organization. So hopefully this is interesting for you, and let's make the data obvious at Vinted together. Thank you. What do I do now? I click next slide. Here you go. Thank you. Okay, this is for you. Chat to me.
Thank you. Thank you for your insightful overview. Okay, so let's talk about a academy and what it is about. So, first of all, how it started. First we noticed that there is a lack of structured career pathways in data science and analytics overall, and in our company as well. There are a lot of talented graduates, self-learners that really could benefit from some formal guidance and support to launch and kickstart their career. We do have a lot of more senior people here at Vinted who are extremely knowledgeable and would like to share the knowledge as well with the new generation. So how we can connect those two? Well, then it's the idea of the Data Science and Analytics Academy. So this is what is designed, as I mentioned, for recent graduates, current students, self-learners who really would like to have their career in this field. So the program structure. So it is a 12-month program with 2 rotations. Each of them is 6 months, tailored to your preference as well as business needs and the team needs. As Jeff mentioned, there are 3 tracks that we have, 3 roles, which are decision scientist, data scientist, and analytics engineer. Those that you already applied probably have to choose your preferences. We might not be able to accommodate your top preference, but be open-minded and see what's there. Location, you can be based either in Vilnius or Kaunas. Again, that's really just up to you where you feel, where you live. Support system, so you will be supported by continuous guidance. You will have a dedicated mentor who will help you each week, each day with everything that you need to grow. You're obviously going to have a manager who will guide you through this journey and help you to grow. Also, a supportive academy community. We not only have the DSA Academy, we have Engineering Academy as well, where we're creating communities. An opportunity for a permanent role, obviously. As you have 2 rotations, we do expect that you excel at least in one of them, and you would be able to settle down in one of the teams after the period of 12 months. And our shared goal is for you to have a rewarding career with us. So, expect to learn and grow exponentially, make an impact every day. So you really, from the day one, probably you will be working on important things, really all the business problems and so on. Try to create a wide network with your department, with other teams, and have as many supportive members as you can, and join the community. So, Academy tracks, as was mentioned, decision scientist, analytics engineer, and data science. You will experience two of them. I know some of you that applied choose the same track for both reference. We still will have to go through two rotations. You can't have two data science rotations. Basically, it's going to be a mix. Let's look at the timeline. So applications close next week on the 25th of July. Do not wait for the last second, please, if you haven't applied yet. Try to do it prior the deadline, as you never know what kind of technical issues can be there. So then, if all goes well, you will be shared a technical task where you will be able to show your skills and capabilities, what we really want to see. What you're capable of, basically. It's going to be a task to do with Python, I believe. But really, we want to see what your skills are. And then if task goes well, you will be invited for an interview with two of our DSA community members. One of them might be your manager or mentor. And that's going to be throughout the August. And Academy begins on the 7th of October, so we expect that people will be available full-time from that date. Then you will have your first rotation, and for the first 6 months, and for the second 6 months from probably April, you will have your second rotation that will be decided later which track you're going to. Throughout these 12 months, you will go through the learning journey, so not only technical skills, but we're going to help you to develop other career skills such as problem solving, time management, communication, etc. So be ready to participate in that as well. And then October next year, the program ends. And as I mentioned, our goal is for you to join one of the teams on a permanent basis. So hiring process. So online application. So at the moment, you can apply online. You can share as many information as you can on your application. So your technical skills, your aspirations, and anything that you think we would love to see. Then you will be invited to complete a Vinted scenarios assessment. So this is, today I sent to some of you already the link to do that. You will be introduced with various working scenarios. That's not going to be related to DSA, that's just any working scenarios. And you will have to choose the action, basically, which is most likely and least likely representative of what you think, how you should do in that situation. After that, you will be shared, as I mentioned, technical tasks and to test your skill set. So really take time, make it interesting for yourself. We really want to see your skills. What we don't want to see, we don't want to see ChatGPT skills. We don't want to see your friends, your siblings' skills. We really want to see your skills. And then you will go into the interview where you will be challenged on your technical tasks. So be prepared to answer some questions, why you chose in some ways or the others, and really want to see how you think, what are your aspirations, motivations, and so on. So prepare for the interview. Yeah, and if interview goes well, you will be offered. All right, so now I would like to introduce our panel, who will be talking a little bit about the roles at the DSA. So, yeah, Evgeny you already know, so I would like to invite to sit here, Oshirina. our analytics engineer, Evaldas, our data scientist, Rasa, decision scientist, and Sirvadas, which is the director of data science and analytics. Please take the chairs that are assigned to you. Evaldas, I would like you to sit here. Yeah. Okay, so first of all, I would like to ask you just to quickly introduce yourself, what you do at Vinted, and a little bit about your background, as you already heard from Jeff. So let's start with Aušrinė.
Hi, my name is Aušrinė. I've been working at Vinted for 1 year now. I started last April. Brukne as well, she's our junior analytics engineer. I have a total of 5 years of experience in the data field. I have a background in software engineering. That's my bachelor's degree. And yeah, I've tried a lot of different roles in the data field. I was a data analyst at the start, an intern actually. Then my role description changed. I was a data scientist. I was a risk specialist. I was a data engineer. And then, yeah, when I decided to change my job, it was kind of a difficult choice to make what to do, because I tried all these different roles. And then I did a lot of thinking, and I decided that it's best for me to apply to analytics engineering, which is quite a new role, relatively new role. And there's not a lot of positions in Vilnius and Lithuania in general. But what I really like about this position is that you can apply your technical skills and a lot of your soft skills. It's like you're the middle person between IT and non-IT people, between IT and business, basically. So you need to have a lot of business knowledge, you have to have understanding of the product, but you also have to have technical skills and apply them and, yeah, use them a lot. What was the second question?
That's it. That's just a quick introduction. Evaldas, just a quick introduction.
Right. Hello, my name is
yourself.
Evaldas. I'm a data scientist here at Vinted. Joined Vinted 9 months ago. Started my data scientist career 8 years ago. During studying my bachelor's degree, I understood that, why I should write code if AI can do this for me. So that's why I got interested in AI. After my bachelor studies, I went abroad to study for a master's degree in AI. And yeah, I've been successful working in different domains in data science. Absolutely love it, and you should join data science too.
Yeah, Rasa.
Yeah, so hello, my name is Rasa, and I joined Vinted a year and a half ago. So that was also the start of my data science career, or decision science. Before that, I was into academia, so I did all my studies in the UK. I did bachelor, master's, and PhD, first in mathematics, then PhD in applied mathematics, so I did mathematical biology. When I came back here, I continued my academic career, so I had a research project and taught in university, but then I decided that maybe I need a little bit more kind of dynamic work, more collaboration with a lot of people, like faster projects. And then, yeah, I talked to some people here in Vinted, including Jeff, and he told me that Vinted is a great place to work. And yeah, I joined in, and I'm very happy that I'm here now.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sirvadas. I'm the Director of Data Science and Analytics at Vinted Go. So Vinted Go is the business unit that's responsible for all things shipping related, so parcel delivery related. Yeah, we do all sorts of stuff, including physical world and having our own parcel delivery company in France. I actually did my bachelor's just across the street in the mathematics faculty of Vilnius University and did my master's in the Netherlands. And I studied, financial and actuarial mathematics, then econometrics, but I still was fascinated by the financial markets a lot. So my beginning of career was not really in data. I was doing some trading in financial markets, but after several years I understood that I did all of these hard math and stats studies, but I'm not using like even 20% of that. And then I switched to a career in data science. And for the last 10 years or so, I've been in different data roles, and I love it. And yeah, I've been with Vinted now for 4.5 years.
Thank you, Sirvidas. Okay, so we have some questions for the panel, but I also encourage you to think of the questions you would like to ask and who you would like to ask. Also for our online audience, you can use the chat to ask the questions and we will address some of them later on. Okay, so I have obviously the first question to all the representative of 3 different tracks. So can you tell us what it is, what do you do, and how does the typical day and tasks look in your track? So let's start with Oshina.
I don't know. I think it's a little bit difficult to explain because it really depends on what are you working on. Basically, in Vinted, we have 2 different types of tasks that an analytics engineer can do because we have 2 different, let's call it systems. So one of it is migrating from the old system to the new system. So rewriting code, re-implementing, rethinking the logic behind it, trying to make it more efficient and stuff like that. And the second part is working on the legacy code and implementing new solutions. So as you can tell, there's a lot of coding involved. Our main mission is to take data that we get from the source, which in most cases is the backend engineers and customer data, then transform it and make it usable for decision scientists and data scientists so that they could use it in their A/B testing or their diagrams and use that data. So basically, the main purpose is to understand that data, check if it's correct, and transform it to make it usable.
Yeah,
that's basically it.
Thank you, Shrina. Now the same question to Evaldas.
Yeah, I work with Sirvidas at the same business unit of shipping. So I usually start with a lot of data cleaning that the analytics engineers prepare. Then if everything goes well, I do more in modeling phases. So at shipping, we run a lot of large-scale simulations to understand if one business decision could impact and decrease our shipping costs. And running simulations, understanding, what happens when I do this instead of that, to reduce the costs. Our primary role, I guess, for doing for quite a while now. And yeah, trying to reduce those costs so that it's cheaper for you to buy at Vinted.
Thank you. And Rasa?
Yes, so probably decision scientist's role is not very well known for you because in Lithuania there are not that many companies that have this role, but I think it's a very, very interesting job that I do. So one of the things is that, as Jeff already briefly described, we have to understand how we want to track business performance, and for that we have to define metrics. So yeah, it's not a very easy job to do because it seems like, oh, you just track like success rate and so on, but usually our processes are a little bit more complex, and sometimes you can improve one thing but make the other thing worse. So you have to like very clearly understand and choose the best metric to track so that all the stakeholders, product managers, and everyone else in the team would understand and agree that that's something that we want to track and we want to optimize. So that's one thing. Then another very, very interesting thing is experimentation. So like here, for me, it's similar to what we did in, like what I did in science, because you generate a hypothesis. You think that something might like be helpful, something might be harming, just because you like explore data, and that's what you start thinking about. Then you have to design the experiment. So you work with product manager, with designer to kind of design the experiment so that you would get the best results. Then you collaborate with engineers so that you would implement that experiment. Then you launch the experiment and it starts, and then you have to track that everything is okay. And afterwards, the most interesting part starts because you have to analyze the data. And for me, this is like very, very interesting because you get like lots of insights, lots of observations, because sometimes you really don't expect that users would behave that way, but they like and end up doing like all sorts of interesting things. So this is very interesting, and like of course also my work involves a lot of ad hoc questions from different stakeholders. So sometimes we have to make a decision and we have to know what's the best decisions, and for that we need an answer that comes from data, not just that we assume that that's the best way to approach the problem. So yeah, so that's about the decision scientist role.
Thank you, Rasa. And now we have some questions as well. So, question for Jeff: what qualities do you think a person needs to have, and they are essential for them to be successful in this academy and Vinted overall?
This is a very... What should I talk to?
This.
This one? Okay. Can you hear me, right? Okay. So this is a deep question. And actually, I don't know if there is a very precise answer to it, but my first thing that comes to mind is you should have some experience or have some practice with writing code, regardless of what role you're going to be in, be it analytics engineer writing, I don't know what you write today, DBT, Scala, and then for data scientist, you will either way will have to write Python to develop a machine learning model or a simulation in this case, or in Rasa's case, you will still have to write an SQL at some point, one point or another, or LookML code to produce whatever insight you may want to produce. And even when it comes to metric development, we have an internal package written in Python that allows to standardize metrics across the organization. So coding is inevitable, and that's the first thing I would encourage you to learn and practice, regardless of the role that you're planning to take. And even if you're going to be a people leader, I would still encourage you to learn coding as well, because that just helps to structure problems in a very systematic manner. So coding is number one. I think for data science and decision science, also what becomes important is some background in statistics and mathematics. Some of the questions that we are solving are very statistical in nature, so experiments were mentioned. One of the interesting things that we have at Vinted is what's called interference. We do not have perfect isolation between control and treatment groups, and they interact. And this is actually statistics-heavy concept that is quite involved and has massive business impact in terms of the metrics that we're measuring. So programming, statistics, and mathematics, and then well, just general people skills, I think, are quite important. Writing, talking to people, and stuff like that. But this can be grown, right, when you join Vinted and just develop with the organization together. I certainly had to learn a lot about these skills while I'm here at Vinted, and I'm sure everyone will have to. I don't know if was that a good answer? Hopefully it was.
Yeah. Thank you. And we have a question for Srivdas as well. How does personal and career growth look like at Vinted, and anything you can share from your own experience?
Yeah, so it's like a two-part question. So career growth and personal growth, and both of these things are usually related, but they're still, let's say, separate. So when people talk about career growth, they usually have in mind, how can I, get a more fancy title, or how can I get work that is more complex? How can I be responsible for more complex things, or how can I eventually get also paid more for the, for the more responsibilities that I have? And I mean, at Vinted we have these, yearly performance reviews. But what I like is that our first principle is internal fairness. So we do calibrations, and different managers speak across different teams to make sure that we, kind of evaluate people in the same way and consistently. And eventually, the people who create a lot of impact get promoted. And what I love that we do at Vinted, and actually what a lot of big tech companies do, in Silicon Valley or other places, but is not so common in Lithuania yet, is that eventually, when you are quite well at what you do, you don't have to become a manager to create a lot of impact and also get rewarded for that impact. You can actually go a long way to be a really, really, really strong individual contributor, like a specialist, and create a lot of impact without having to manage people if that's something that you don't like doing. And this is not yet so common it's in, let's say, our region, but it's fairly common in engineering function in Silicon Valley or other places with bigger companies. So that's the part that I like, how we approach it. And then speaking about personal growth, so some of the personal growth is connected with career growth. So Jeff mentioned a lot of good things. So we have learning budget that you can go to conferences, and he mentioned KDD, and maybe you learn something there that you apply in your work, and you make more impact, and then you get a good performance review. So that's all connected. And this is what I would say is more like structured personal growth. So we have maybe offsites where you define metrics, as Jeff showed an example. But I personally love the unstructured personal growth opportunities. So it's like I'm surrounded by hundreds of really smart and really curious people, and it's like, okay, maybe I have a problem, and I learned that another manager has the same problem, and we just talk and we figure out how to solve it in the best way together. Like it just happens. Or maybe I meet Jeff at a coffee machine and I ask him what he's into, and he says that he's as a hobby building rockets now, and I learn about rockets. You know, it doesn't help me in the career, but it's really nice. Let's say we have a colleague who actually her thesis paper got accepted into KDD conference, and she will have a poster in KDD in Barcelona this year, and she was supervised by Rasa, and like the paper is about marketplace experimentation and how to measure it. I don't work in marketplace, but it's super interesting, and I go and read, and I can go and talk to them and have lunch, and that's amazing. So that's the personal growth that I like a lot.
Can I add?
Yeah,
I
sure.
just want to really emphasize how cool it is to have the individual contributor track and people leadership track. Like, this is super cool because like you can actually grow technically in your role. Like, just want to repeat that once again, even though we said like, because sometimes people have to converge to people leadership role without necessarily wanting to do that. Here you can just be very good at designing metrics, and you can just grow in your role in designing metrics, and with time your influence actually grows because you will probably design metrics maybe for the rest of the organization. There is, for example, Monica Romashkaite. She's now working on an extremely big opportunity on aligning metrics of how different retention things are measured, and then how we should be optimizing it for experiments, stuff like that. These are all very interesting questions to solve both technically and organizationally. So that's really, really cool. Yep.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your answers. Now we can start the Q&A session, but let's just check first if we have any online questions.
So far, no, we're good. We can ask the live audience for some
questions. Okay, so anyone from the audience that has a question, don't be shy. Yep, here.
I can also give microphone. I have extra.
So a question would be for everyone. How would you describe an ideal candidate for each position at Academy?
For the Academy?
Yeah.
It's just one thing to mention that the Academy, you should be able to do all three positions, so not like...
Yeah. So it would be for Aušrinė, Evaldas, and Rasa. How would you describe an ideal candidate for like each position that takes half a year?
Okay.
Well, that's a difficult question. I don't know. I think one of the things that Jeff also mentioned, that you can't evade SQL. So it's something that you probably should try at least and have some knowledge about it. In regards to coding, I think you should have experience in coding, but it doesn't always have to be the specific languages that we code. For example, I came here without any knowledge of Scala, and I started working just when I started working with it. But I had experience in Java, and that helped a lot. I also had minuscule experience in Python, so I know how to read it. And then, for example, it helps in my current task of rewriting Python code to Scala code. So just general programming experience, and then being able to communicate, not being afraid to ask questions, being curious, and then yeah, I think that applies to all positions here. That you need to have a little bit of coding experience. You need to be curious. You need to be not afraid to ask questions, and yeah, just a generally cool person.
Yeah.
Right. So I like to add that coding is just a tool. So it's like a hammer. You can swing it, but in DSA you have to know where to swing it. And to know where to swing in, you have to ask questions. I guess, DSA is all about asking the right questions. And you learn this as you get better and better experience in DSA. But I think with asking, what if, or how is that related to another thing? And, being able to, and being sufficient enough to find those answers is like a crucial part of DSA. And I guess, to be able to answer the right question, you have to be curious about data, about users, what they do, why they do that, and being curious and asking the right questions.
Yeah, so for decision science, I think like coding, technical skills, and the curiosity, these are also very, very important. But maybe I want to emphasize that for decision science, it's extremely important to have very good communication skills because you work with very different people. You work with analytics engineers, but you also work a lot with like product managers and the engineers themselves. So you have to be able to explain things in different kind of slightly languages, I would say, because for analytics engineers, you explain very clearly what kind of data you need. And for the product managers, you explain more like in terms of the business process and so on. And you also have to be very good at problem solving because usually like you have a lot of constraints, you have very little limited data, like messy data, but you have to like kind of find an answer. So you have to be like very creative and like good at solving problems.
Can I quickly add? So I think raising questions and communication are like broadly very, very important, but specifically what it often boils down to for all roles, but maybe especially decision science, you have to be not afraid to challenge people's assumptions and your own assumptions. Because what we often run into is like, oh, I'm sure this feature will be used and it will be obvious and that's what we expect. And that doesn't happen. And if we challenge this early enough, we can prevent a lot of time wasted.
That's maybe one of the interesting bits about Vinted is that this data science analytic, we have a concept of EPDA, engineering product design analytics, and these all 4 roles are equal in a sense of what they can add to the table. It's not like you're in a support role, it's not like you're here to just give an answer through an SQL query, you're actually there to add whatever the technical skill you have to the table. Engineers might say about specific feature from what impact it's going to have on latency, how long the app is going to load. Product manager will think about the constraints, designer will think about the flow that the user might have, and the decision scientist in the team might be thinking about what is the optimal way to design an experiment, and these are the constraints that they bring to the table, and everyone will have to operate together within these constraints that all of them bring together. And that's why, again, it's important, I guess, to challenge the assumptions of what other roles might have. And this is, again, a skill that is you're to grow into and develop over time.
Yeah, and just to add from my point of view as well, as I said, be curious and never be afraid to ask questions. Do not wait for the tasks to be delivered. Go be proactive, initiative. Don't be afraid to fail, as our CEO said. Yeah, it's better to do something and fail than be afraid to do anything in the first place. So, yeah, that would be.
We have an online question, and the panelists can pick and choose who would like to answer it. So we have someone who would really love to join Vinted in the near future, and they already started to study data analytics in Turing College. So the question is, how do you look at the experience and skills gained during these studies? So maybe someone from the panel would like to volunteer and grab the question.
I guess I can answer. I am a mentor or senior team lead at also at Turing College. We have quite a few success cases here at Vinted who started their career in DSA directly from Turing College. So I guess all these kind of different academies, not Turing College itself, but there's more than that, a really good way to start your way into DSA and I guess to shift into data-driven thinking about, okay, how does that impact? How can I look at the data? So you don't have to study for bachelor's or master's degree to start your career in DSA, I think.
If I can add,
Yeah.
So there is also a lot of online resources where you can prepare yourself for the role that you're applying for. Like Netflix has plenty of articles about the kind of approaches that we are trying to develop here in data science analytics function. They have the whole six articles set of blog posts about decision science at Netflix, where they write exactly about the kind of philosophy and stuff like that. We don't have as many articles yet, but we'll get to that at some point. But these are the organizations that we are trying to emulate. So you can also read some of that stuff there and actually take what you've learned at Turing College and see how it is applied in practice from already well-documented cases. And also, if you're looking for more of these examples, just ping me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to share some of the public information as well. So you could kind of put a name on whatever methods you're learning in practice. Yeah.
I would like to just add a point that, if you complete academy, that's not a guarantee for you to find a job in DSA. So you have to develop skills that are applicable. So it's not sufficient enough to have like this diploma from an academy and say, okay, I'm done with the academy now, please give me a job. So it doesn't work like that, but it prepares you with the right skill sets.
Any other questions that we have? Yep, there.
Hello. I have a question probably mostly to Evgeny and Rasam. Evgeny mentioned during the initial slides that he's working in experimentation team, but that sounds more like a platform team compared to like recommendations and like other examples that you mentioned. So could you compare how the decision scientist role could be different depending on the team? As I understand, you are both working in a different team, so maybe you have like some observations how your work is different.
Mm-hmm. This is a great question. Do you, Rasa, want to start?
About my role, like
and how it's different?
Yeah,
how
sure.
you see it different?
So I am like a decision scientist in one of the product teams. I work in payments domain, so we are responsible for like payments. When you like buy something and make a transaction, and then we kind of mainly focus. We have our metrics, to track payments, and then we want to optimize it. We have the metrics, we have the experiments, and we work in this structure with like engineering manager, product manager, me as a decision scientist, and a designer, and we have lots of engineers. And we work as a team. We have our metrics, we have our goals, and we work all together. So this is kind of my job, and what Jeff does, he's like in this experimentation team, and they are responsible for the, maybe you want to actually elaborate on that, because and then the differences will be clear, I think.
Well, I was curious to hear. So I work in experimentation team. You're exactly right. It's a great question, by the way. We are a platform team. So Vinted, there is like Vinted Marketplace, Vinted Pay, Vinted Go. These are different business units. And then there is Vinted Group. And Vinted Group, that's where we are as a platform team, where we have experimentation team, we have data infrastructure team, ML ops teams, streaming team, and whatever other teams we have there. And I don't know why I'm still holding this. So we are essentially building products for our internal customers. And these customers are in the marketplace, all of the products in product teams in Marketplace, Vinted Go, and Vinted Pay. But we actually don't support yet much Vinted Pay and Vinted Go in terms of the technologies that we provide, but we work a lot with Marketplace because every product team, we want them to be enabled to do experiments. And that's where we come into a project last year, I think last year it was, where we developed internal tool to standardize the metrics. And then the decision scientists in different teams were able to come in, write down the code, the metrics that they compute, and that metric will be reused all the time for different experiments automatically so that they don't have to do it by hand. So kind of this philosophy, make yourself replaceable. So we try to scale this across the whole organization so they can actually focus on more difficult questions with the product managers, with their engineers in discovery of the products, stuff like that. We also provide different infrastructure solution, the randomization engine itself, the statistics behind it, the statistics behind the analysis, we try to automate it. And we work a lot with all of the other decision scientists. Other thing that our team works on is we develop metrics for metrics. because different metrics have different statistical properties, and whenever a decision scientist adds these metrics, we can evaluate them on different experiments that have been run in the past and determine which metric is better, which ones are not. We then also aggregate the results, the results of different experiments the team run, and from that we create a meta metric of how much impact different teams create. So it's very much, you can attribute exactly what you do and how much impact it creates in the product. So this is kind of very interesting stuff, but it is just as interesting as what teams do in the product. So kind of, you just try influence people around you to do the right things with statistics, and that's what we try to do in decision science. Hopefully I answered your question. You can follow up anytime. Yeah.
I will actually add another angle to this. So decision science in product team is the most common, let's say, setup. And then you work on metrics and experimentation, etc. But there are also cases at Vinted where we have decision scientists that don't work with product primarily. And in Vinted Go, we have quite a few cases like this. And for example, in one of my teams, Marco, a decision scientist, had a problem where he was trying to come up with the optimal design of a parcel locker. So Vinted Go has 3,000 parcel lockers in France now. By the way, for comparison, LP Express in Lithuania has between 400 and 500 lockers. So that's to understand the scale. And basically, he, as a decision scientist, he had the task of like come up with a metric that would measure, okay, how good of a locker design that is. So maybe it's how many parcels can go through the same locker that uses the same amount of metal to manufacture, etc. And he simulated all sorts of different cell sizes in the locker, and what's the mix of those cell sizes should be to accommodate the biggest, the highest utilization that we can have. And there was some hardware constraints, so she had to talk with the manufacturers of like, hey, if you make the slot like this big, we can't manufacture it easily because that's not how metal folds, etc. And it's something that is not, digital product related, but it's still a decision scientist task.
This is a very cool problem.
Thank you.
We have an online question, and again, anyone can pick and choose. So how is the data team relationship going internationally? Is there an ongoing communication, collaboration? Maybe there are specific topics covered in each location, in other offices that we have. So maybe someone can share about our international partnerships and collaborations between the offices.
I can answer with an example. Just before arriving here, I was in a meeting where we were talking, this word has been mentioned a lot, about metrics, but it was people from Vilnius office, Amsterdam office, and Berlin office, and we were all discussing essentially the optimal trade-off between different metrics and how do we go ahead and design it from statistics point of view and how it would reflect, given the feedback we've received on CEO, on what kind of strategic objectives it would optimize. And then we take that definition that is kind of very business-oriented to try to express it statistically, and we were doing it together from people from Berlin and Amsterdam and Vilnius office. I think that was what the question is about, if I understood correctly.
Yeah.
Maybe to emphasize, we don't really think that like, oh, this office does this and that office does that. It's more like, okay, if it's easy to have a team in the same office, then we do that because it's physically nice and easy to be in the same place. But if not, DSA is across all of the offices and there is no difference where you are, basically. The type of work that you do, there is no difference.
Yeah, like even in our team, we have Dominikas, who is living in Amsterdam while working in our team, and most of the team is in Vilnius. Yeah.
And I just want to add that it's very nice that we have like these different offices, because people like you kind of meet more like different cultures, and we do have these events where we actually meet each other, and then like I think it's a great thing about Vinted.
And you also get a lot of different insights. We also have a Lithuanian colleague living in Germany, and then we also have a market in Germany, and then he gives insights that we don't just think about, because he says, oh, like no one uses this payment method. It's so like common to do it like this, and we don't think about it because we don't live there. So it's really, really valuable to have this kind of different experiences come outside from the different countries that we have colleagues in. And it's just so normalized that you don't really think about, is my colleague living there or there? It's just a time zone difference. But when it's in Europe, it doesn't really make it that big of a difference.
Thank you. Any other questions that we have? Yeah.
Hello, can you elaborate a bit more how the DSA Academy program looks like?
Well, we briefly discussed that you will have 2 rotations. You will join for the first 6 months, probably not this teams, but some other teams that we have the interest from. So you will work on those things that team is doing, whichever you will be joining. Your performance will be tracked. So you will have like support every day, every week. You will have additional workshops that others did not have. You will have. You will join the academy community together with the engineering academy as well, where you will have the common workshops with them as well. That's more on your personal development. After those 6 months, we will look again which team you will be joining, which track you will be joining. So it's going to have to be a different than the first one that you did. And it might be a different team. You might even join a team that is based in Amsterdam or Berlin. You still work here in Lithuania, but your team might be remote. So yeah, and then you'll have similar setup as well for the next 6 months. Yeah, and then after those 6 months, we will hope that we can welcome you on a permanent basis here at Vinted. Unless you want something specific. Yeah.
I just wanted to add, maybe flip a question. It's a great question, by the way, but it's also like generally people at Vinted are very approachable. And when you are in the DSA Academy, you can also try to get the most of it yourself. If you want to talk to Thomas, our CEO, just message him on Slack and find him in wherever he walks into the office and start talking to him. You want to meet Adam, CEO of Marketplace, just approach him and start talking to him. You want to meet Sirvidas, just approach him and start talking to him and ask whatever examples he might have. Another one, if you join Academy as a decision scientist, I recommend you to talk to Agne. She is like the knowledge treasure of all decision science things at Vinted. She's been at Vinted for many years and understands the product very well, and you can learn a lot from her. So there are a lot of these people that you can learn from. You might not necessarily be in the academy in that respective team, but just like find them on Slack, message them, and people will be happy to grab a coffee with you and chat with you, grab lunch, breakfast, whatever you want, or even help you and advise you on whatever problem you are working on. People generally are quite happy to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
I have a microphone. Wait, you can take this one. I don't know if it works, but I have it. Now you have it.
1, 2, 3. 1, 1. Hi to all. My name is Ruslan. Past year I'm studying data science at Turin College, and I'm almost graduated. I'm on technical mock interview stage, and I have a very simple question: how can I get at Vinted as soon as possible? Because I am tired to looking for a job. That's all.
It's hard to comment on a specific recruitment process. Not sure who you are talking with, what stage, but I think there are some processes to follow. That are you in touch with your recruitment partner who is helping you?
I'm already send accept to your vacancy at LinkedIn for a data analytics position, and I just waiting for answer from my HRs.
Okay, so you will get in due time. I believe just like we have the time frame to follow.
So I have a suggestion. After we are done with the questions, let's grab a beer. Tell us which position you applied, and we can check and follow up.
I'm glad to be there.
And great, by the way, that you're already making a question and asking the question. So that's good. And you already applied, so that's also a very first step. So that's good.
Yeah. So our just because our time I think is running. Goda, how are we with the time?
Well, it's 1 minute left to 5, so we can wrap this up, I guess.
So that person goes first, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So I imagine there are like a lot of brainstorming sessions that you have. And which ideas do you choose to actually validate? Like what's the process in that? And what is the process of like from idea to an actual feature? And how does each team like contribute? Because I think it would allow it to solidify the information that you gave us today. So yeah, that's my question.
Who is the question to?
I guess everyone, maybe? Or whoever wants to answer.
Yeah, sure. I can take it, and if you can add if you want. So I think usually we evaluate like how much money we can get if we do one thing or the other thing. So usually it's monetary value that is very important. Of course, sometimes it's not possible to very clearly show how big of an opportunity this is, but. Like that's how we make kind of decisions. That's how we prioritize things. Of course, like some strategic decisions are also very important, but if it's kind of a simple thing, we see like we have a bit of a bigger problem here just because it's, that's how much we are losing because of that. That's how we prioritize things.
Yeah, I would like to extend a little bit. Usually the leadership set a goal for a year, what we want to aim for that year. Then we split that into quarters and, okay, how we can improve this metric or reduce these costs. Then people come up with all kind of ideas. And then you as a DSA evaluate, whether those ideas are financially valuable, whether they make sense, do they target the metrics that you expect to target, or maybe, it might impact totally irrelevant metrics of your business. And then you calculate opportunity costs, the impact, and just check, okay, if it makes sense or not. And based on your evaluation, the business either prioritizes this for the next quarter to work on it, or disregards, meaning that, okay, this not make enough impact to spend like a half a month or a month for engineering team to work. Because, well, engineers cost, so we try to aim, to work on those things that make an impact.
Okay. So thank you very much for.
Can I comment more?
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to add, like generally, yes. Like so, we have a strategic objective. For that strategic objective, we express it in a metric again, and then we will look for what improves that metric the most. And yes, often it happens that the metric is monetary. It could be one of the metrics, but then it's not necessarily that you do X and that increases the value of that metric. Usually the solutions that you're aiming for, they have to be a match between the business problem, so this is us improving the metric, and there has to be a customer problem that we solve that therefore makes the customer use our product more and increase our metric. So it's not just that we optimize simply for monetary value. You actually have to solve customer problems for the monetary value to increase, and that's the important bit to understand, and this is where the designer function comes in, because they work with user research a lot, try to understand what might be the problems that are the most friction, produce the most friction for our users. That said, even in the user research, users might say X, but actually when you run an experiment, you learn that Y is the most important thing for them. And this is why you kind of have to have this research triangle where you learn something from user research, but then you do user research only on like 100 users or 1,000 users, but when you scale an experiment to 16 million users, you might get completely different outcome. And one example of this is changing of a font. Across the whole app, there was a change of a font. And you run that, they did a user research, and the user research said that the font change is indistinguishable from the previous font. We launched an experiment with 16 million users twice. Turns out that it has massive impact, larger impact than 70% of the experiments that were done in the past. And these are the kind of things that you learn from doing decision science and product. Hopefully that's a clear example where you kind of prioritized, but everything turned out to be completely different from what you expected.
Okay, well, now, thank you. Thank you very much for the panelists, for your insights, for the audience questions and the online audience questions. So for the online, we were finishing the streaming. You can still apply via Careers website. If you have questions, you can reach us on the social media with more. And for the live audience here, we have an hour or so for the little bit of the networking. So feel free to grab a drink, approach us with the orange thingies. This is how you recognize a Vinted employee, and you can now ask us your questions personally. Yeah, thank you so much. Bye.